Hey everyone, Dr. Frunky here with an awesome new unboxing video on a brand new ZT knife. This knife is so new, even the retailers didn't know that they were releasing it until days before they got it. ZT announced that they were doing a new design collab with Ernest Emerson. Now ZT and Kershaw have done many Emerson collaborations, and some people argue that they do a better Emerson than Emerson himself. This is certainly going to hold true here. This knife is extremely well made, and we're going to get into it. So the unboxing component of this video right here, this comes in a standard ZT box with some bubble wrap and a warranty card. I think that ZT knives are begging to have some information included, a lot like what Spyderco does, especially in this type of a situation where they could explain the history of the knife and the maker and explain it a little bit better. I really would like to see that, ZT. What are we looking at here? This is a full-size knife, and it is a true return to form for ZT because it has 3.75 inches of blade, 4.25 inches to the pivot, 8 and 8.75 overall length right there, about 4.75 on the handle, and 4.5 inches of effective grip area right there. The width on this guy is coming in at about 0.55 inches. And the blade stock is a standard 156 thousandths, right there, 156 thousandths from the ZT factory. They do that for most of their knives, so it is a standard size ZT. ZT this year has come out with a couple of knives that were on the smaller side, the 609 and the 470. This time they went back to their full-size roots here. I'm going to go ahead and bring out another couple of knives for a size comparison. Here's a Spyderco Paramilitary 2. As you can see, the 640 is actually bigger than this knife completely. Here is another new knife from Spyderco. This is the Capara. I recently did a video on this knife. This one features a 3.6-inch blade, and so it's an interesting sort of competitive option right now. This one is coming in at $188 with S30V. This one is coming in at about $250 with 20 CV and a titanium handle. So kind of a different league right there, but they both are running on phosphor bronze washers, and both are manual openers. So it's interesting to see that coming out from these two companies right now. I'll go ahead and bring out another couple of knives just for a size comparison. This is a Koenig Knives Arius, something that some of you may be familiar with. And here is a recent release from Mass Drop. Here is the Keen. This is an interesting knife that just came out. So maybe if you have any of those knives, you are familiar now with the size of this knife. So let's go ahead and break this guy down anatomically. I didn't mention this weight is coming in at 4.41 ounces. So not too heavy, not too light, a very nice weight for a knife of this size. Let's break this guy down anatomically. A 3.75-inch blade of CPM 20 CV sits up front in a classic drop point configuration. I really like this blade shape. It reminds me a lot of the Sebenza, the Chris Reeve Knives Sebenza, and I mean that in a very nice way. It is a classic drop point blade shape, and the way that they've executed it here is very nice. It has a very nice top wedge. It is a flat ground primary bevel. It comes very sharp from the factory. ZT usually grinds their knives a bit thick behind the edge, but that is okay. It means that you have a robust and strong folder. It's not going to be the sliciest knife in your collection, but from the factory, this thing will cut and it will serve its purpose. Be aware that this is not a kitchen knife. This is going to be more of a hard-use, tactical, EDC type of blade right here. I like the finish work that they've done on it. It features a satin finish on the primary bevel, and it features a nice stone wash on the flats. Here you can see it features a thumb disc as its primary means of deployment. Notice the very nice knurling pattern around the edges right there. That's going to provide a nice customization option for folks because a lot of people make custom thumb discs for various knives out there. Some of the coolest ones I like to see this sort of 45 ACP, sort of the bullets or whatever. There are lots of options out there, so that'll be interesting to see what people do with that. Moving back to the pivot, this is a nice feature right here that it runs on phosphor bronze washers. I initially thought this was so smooth that it had to be running on their KVT ball bearings, but indeed this is running on phosphor bronze washers, and it has a great action because of it. The detent is tuned so that the thumb disc deployment, oh, I just missed it, of course, is very, very strong and fast and smooth, and I really enjoy it. And I know that over time, these washers are going to break in so that that's drop shut smooth. I remember the last washer knife they did, the 0850, broke in so nicely and became very smooth. I'm happy that they used phosphor bronze washers. And I think that when washers are done the right way, they can even be preferable to bearings because they are a bit more robust for heavy-duty use. Bearings are not really meant for getting down and dirty and then having a lot of lateral force put on them. Phosphor bronze washers stand up better to that kind of abuse. And so if you need a knife that has that need or fills that need, then this may be the knife for you. This features some standard pivot hardware. Notice that it is a hex pattern right here, and it is fixed into the carbon fiber. They've done that on a few of these knives this year, including the 393, where the pivot is fixed into the carbon fiber. I just hope that that holds up to the test of time. Also, the 470 had a feature like that. I hope that holds up to the test of time. We'll see how that goes. Moving back to these handles, it features some nice big slabs of 6AL4V titanium. They are not internally milled. I think that they missed an opportunity to do some weight savings on this knife, but perhaps they did that on purpose to keep it in sort of the stronger, more robust type of build that they seem to be seeking with this. I think we all need to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the carbon fiber on the handle here. This may be the ugliest carbon fiber I've seen yet. In my honest estimation, this looks like vomit. This pairs well with the 0460 that they initially released in poop brown carbon fiber as well. So I'm really just confused about who at ZT decided that plain carbon fiber just wasn't good enough and that we wanted to have vomit colored carbon fiber. This is not quite yellow. It's not quite green. It is a pea soup sort of color. They call it green on the website. I must say this is hideous. I really just don't like it. And I feel very strongly that the carbon fiber is going to prevent people from buying this knife. So I would like to see that. If I were going to be keeping this knife, I'll put it that way, I would replace these scales. Let's talk about the clip briefly. It is an Emerson style clip with the 3-screw configuration. It has a nice ZT look to it. Something that's a little bit frustrating to me is that the ZT logo is blue in some lights. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah, it's blue. And it doesn't work with the rest of the colors on the knife. That's a little bit frustrating. Just the logo. The rest of it is plain tie, which I like. I'm glad that they did that. Unfortunately, it is a very shallow clip, so this will not work with very thick pants. And so that sort of defeats the purpose of a harder use knife, because imagine trying to put this into some 511 pants or something like that, or tactical pants. It's not really going to work. Moreover, it rides a bit high, and so it's going to be obvious in the pocket, so it's not a very stealthy knife. Now let's talk about how this thing sort of functions. I really like the way that it deploys with the thumb, but I was very much hoping that on this thumb disc knife, I would be able to open it with a Spidey flick. One of my favorite things about this knife, the Robert Carter Custom Tech, that also features a thumb disc opening, is that I can use my middle finger and do a Spidey flick and open the knife quite easily, just like that. On this knife, even though I am highly skilled at doing the Spidey flick, it is physically impossible for me to deploy this knife with a Spidey flick. I just can't do it. I have been completely unable to do it yet. What I have been able to do, and what some people have asked, is front flip the knife. This thing has a very prominent lip that goes over the top of the handle, and a lot of people have asked, can you front flip the knife? The answer is sort of. If you get the right amount of traction on the blade in the right direction, it will open to that point right there. If you give it a little bit of wrist, it can open a little bit, but as you can see, it's not really designed for that. And once you get the knife open, you can actually deploy it this way, if you're careful, just like that. What happens is when you get to this point, the tab sort of disappears and you lose traction on the blade, and so it stays stuck in that configuration. So it's not really meant for that. Now, given the combination of the carbon fiber that I'm not really a fan of a very shallow clip, both in the way that it carries on the pocket and in the pocket, as well as a thumb disc that doesn't deploy the way I want. I'm not going to end up keeping this knife, but I do think that it's well made, and I do think that it's worth your attention. Check out the ZT0640. Go ahead and click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel here. Tell me what you think down below in the comments, and as always, take care.